Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I will reiterate my honourable friend from Hales Owen's point that I wish I'd never heard the name Peter Mandelson. He should not have been appointed. It is right that he would have been sacked, and I will acknowledge his experience and expertise on the issue, which I will admit I don't have. Madam Deputy Speaker, yesterday, in my response to the Prime Minister's statement focused on Jeffrey Epstein's victims, I briefly mentioned the issue of parties opposite seeking to gain political capital, and much to the chagrin to the reasonable, quiet people of this country, asked for the Prime Minister's resignation, yet again causing chaos to the governance of this country that the opposition is so addicted to. The opposition grumbled at this, as they are doing so now, so I want to take this opportunity to clarify. I will repeat, if we ignore the social media trolls and bots and ignore the self-interest of billionaire-owned right-wing press, the quiet, reasonable majority of people do not want a change of Prime Minister. As one lifelong Tory said to me yesterday, I see the Prime Minister is still here. That is a good thing. They are grateful that this Prime Minister, as a teacher I can out-talk you all, they are grateful that this Prime Minister has not drawn our country into a mad, dangerous conflict, a conflict the opposition would have immediately joined. People value a stable government, a government that focuses on matters people really care about. They want a stabilised economy. They want reform to send and support for schools. They want our NHS rebuilt and waiting lists to drop. They want our roads fixed. They want their wages to increase. They want affordable homes. They want their communities to be safe and welcoming. And they want violence against women and girls tackled. People are fed up of politics and fed up of this navel-gazing over process. They are fed up of more politicians politicking and point-scoring. They are tired of it. And why? I will come to you in a minute. I'm in the flow, and I will promise you I'll come to you. Because after 14 years of the previous government chopping and changing Prime Ministers and Secretaries of State and the blonde bumbler and the loopy lettuce, this country was on its knees, its people exhausted. The people do not want more of the same, and despite the opposition's constant efforts, we will not let them manufacture more chaos, and I will kindly give way.
To the point that she's just made. Is she familiar with the YouGov poll that regularly asks the UK population how well they think Keir Starmer is doing as Prime Minister? And is she aware that the latest data shows that 70% of the UK population think he's doing badly?
We're glad he's here.
I thank the Honourable Lady for her intervention. I will say that polls can generate answers depending on how they form their questions, and I will say, if you look at other polls, if we like them, he is still a lot more popular than certain other members present in this House. And in reference to their chaos, I will speak up for the civil service, and I will express empathy to Sir Ollie Robinson. In the whirl of Prime Ministers and Ministers of the previous government, among the COVID partying and profiteering, and the party opposite has never apologised, and I will never forgive. The civil service clearly did their best to stop this country from sinking into the mire. In such chaotic conditions, it is no wonder that the culture developed that decisions would be made without fully informing ministers or prime ministers, partially because under the party opposite they probably couldn't be sure who would be the Prime Minister or Minister that month. I will give way.
I think the remaining people who want Starmer to remain Prime Minister are those people who are worried who the Labour Party may pick to have instead. But I wonder if the Honourable Lady would make a comment on. She seems to be saying all sorts of other whataboutery sort of information, but has she considered that actually this is not manufactured? This is a huge national security concern, that we had an ambassador who had access to security information at the highest level, who was a security risk to this country.
Yes.
I thank the Honourable Lady for her intervention. I do apologise. I struggle with my hearing. I didn't quite pick up everything that she said. I will come to the policy about the vetting and security in a second in my speech. I hope that might deliver an answer to her. Do apologise. And I remind the parties opposite that the process they are quibbling about, that this is a policy, I think this might give you the answer, this policy of organisation being able to grant vetting, contrary to advice of the UKSB, has been running for many years under successive governments. It is this Prime Minister, this government, that is now reviewing this process. And I will reiterate the key points. Mandelson should never have been appointed as our ambassador. The Prime Minister has repeatedly acknowledged this and repeatedly apologised. I'm conscious of time. We have a 7-minute guideline, so I will carry on. It is clear that Foreign Office officials granted developed vetting security clearance to Mandelson and never told ministers they'd done so against the recommendations from the vetting agency. This is shocking, and any reasonable person would have assumed that this information would have been proffered without asking. The policy is wrong. It should change, and as a result of the review, hopefully it will change. This government, less than 2 years old still, will not let such a policy continue. I am pleased the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister has immediately suspended the ability of the Foreign Office to grant security clearances, but again, he's not in his seat now, but the Honourable Member for Hales-Owen, I understand that he asked for that to be a short term for other security reasons, and I acknowledge his point. Madam Deputy Speaker, thanks to the previous government and the cryptocurrency fuel damage of reform and, of course, the economic suicide of Brexit, both are responsible for, people are fed up and trust in politics is at an all-time low. And indeed, the Prime Minister recognises this and he understands the recent revelations has further damaged that trust, and I acknowledge that too. But I stress, politics can be a force for good. Politics focused on people, not political process. Politics focused on the decent, hard-working people of our country, thankfully still at peace due to the strength of this Prime Minister, can be a force for good. The opposition is still addicted to chaos and game-playing, seeking scraps of political capital where they can. I suggest they have flogged this issue as much as they can. They need to focus on rebuilding their dying party and apologise to the people. This Prime Minister and this government is focused on rebuilding this country, the country they broke and still won't apologise for.